What if the wealth you're chasing is already present, quiet, waiting beneath the noise of your thoughts? What if your constant effort to manifest a better life is paradoxically what's blocking it from arriving? Many people dedicate hours to affirmations, visualization boards, and abundance rituals, and yet they still wake up feeling disconnected, financially stagnant, and emotionally drained. This isn't because they lack discipline or desire. It's because they're using the wrong map to reach the right destination. Dr. Joe Dispenza often speaks of the brain as an instrument of frequency, constantly broadcasting who we are into the quantum field. And yet, most of us are broadcasting confusion. We say we want abundance, but emotionally, we vibrate scarcity, fear, and doubt. Napoleon Hill taught that thoughts become things, but he also warned, only when emotion and belief saturate those thoughts can they truly take root in the subconscious and bloom into wealth. This video isn't another checklist of manifestation tricks. It's a quiet unveiling of something deeper, the forgotten language of alignment. A return to the original design you carry in your emotional DNA, a blueprint of prosperity buried beneath years of conditioning and emotional dissonance. You'll discover how to listen to what your life has been trying to tell you. You'll hear why most people fail to manifest and how to realign your energy, not just to attract abundance, but to become its living embodiment. Because when you stop chasing and start resonating, the universe has no choice but to answer. Let's begin. The invisible block that keeps you from vibrating prosperity. There's a strange kind of silence that surrounds financial struggle, not the absence of money itself, but the absence of inner permission to receive it. Most people who live in scarcity aren't simply unlucky or lazy. They are deeply misaligned with their own frequency of receiving. Beneath their daily decisions, routines, and affirmations lies a forgotten emotional architecture, one built from shame, fear, and inherited beliefs. This architecture is invisible, yet it governs everything. It is the subconscious terrain where prosperity either flows or fails to enter. To understand this terrain, we must step back into the emotional atmosphere of our early lives. Between birth and the age of 7, the brain functions in a highly impressionable state, absorbing belief systems like a sponge. During these years, money isn't learned through textbooks or budgeting apps. It's absorbed energetically, through facial expressions when bills are due, through hushed arguments over financial lack, through the way our caregivers reacted to abundance or the absence of it. Without knowing, we internalize these cues. We begin to believe, not logically but biologically, that abundance is unsafe, forbidden, or reserved for someone else. These early emotional signatures become energetic templates, and from these templates, we build our adult lives. It's no wonder that so many individuals, despite their conscious efforts to think rich, end up replicating emotional patterns of lack. The brain, guided by familiarity, leads us back to what feels emotionally safe, even if that safety resides in dysfunction. Prosperity, therefore, isn't simply a financial state. It's a nervous system condition. You can only attract what your body believes is safe to hold. If your internal wiring has been shaped around fear, rejection, or scarcity, then every attempt to bring in wealth will be met with subtle sabotage. Not because you don't want abundance, but because, vibrationally, you've been trained to fear its consequences. In this way, abundance becomes less about desire and more about reprogramming the internal signals of safety. It requires dismantling the idea that you must struggle to be worthy, or that money corrupts, or that happiness is somehow incompatible with wealth. These aren't just passing thoughts. They are energetic frequencies encoded into the subconscious, passed down through generations and reinforced by societal mythologies. This is where most manifestation teachings fall short. They focus on the mind, but ignore the emotional roots. They ask people to visualize success while their emotional bodies remain anchored in trauma. It's like planting seeds in toxic soil. Nothing real can grow. To truly manifest abundance, one must first detox the soil, and that means acknowledging the invisible beliefs that have been shaping reality from the shadows. One of the most persistent of these beliefs is unworthiness. Many individuals carry a silent conviction that they are somehow undeserving of ease or overflow. This belief often masquerades as humility, frugality, or spiritual detachment, but beneath those masks lies a deeper fear, the fear of being visible, of having needs, of disrupting old family dynamics by exceeding the financial status quo. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This is precisely what happens when abundance is blocked by hidden programs. You may believe you're unlucky or cursed. You may even think the universe has forgotten you. But in truth, your life is reflecting a deeper agreement, one you didn't even know you made. So how does one begin to shift this frequency? It starts not with action, but with awareness. The simple act of observing your emotional response to money can reveal volumes. Notice what happens in your body when you receive unexpected income. Does your chest tighten or expand? Do you feel guilty or excited? When someone else receives abundance, do you feel inspired or resentful? These subtle cues speak louder than your affirmations ever could. Healing this block requires reparenting your emotional relationship with prosperity. It means giving yourself new experiences of receiving that feel safe, nourishing, and sustainable. It involves surrounding yourself with new financial symbols, conversations, spaces, mentors that affirm abundance without shame. Most of all, it requires that you become radically honest about the beliefs you've inherited and lovingly choose which ones to keep. Imagine for a moment that prosperity is a guest at your front door. You hear the knock, but instead of answering, you double lock the entrance out of habit. You're not even aware you're doing it. You've simply lived so long without visitors that the sound of possibility now feels like danger. The knock continues, not because the universe is testing you, but because it is endlessly patient. It waits for you to remember that you were never meant to live behind that closed door. This is the true beginning of unlocking the code, not in memorizing steps, but in releasing the emotional armor that was built to survive scarcity. When you remove the weight of old beliefs, your vibration naturally rises. You don't have to force abundance to come. You simply become the version of yourself that abundance has always been seeking. The invisible block loses its power the moment it is seen. And when that moment arrives, you'll notice something strange. Money begins to flow not as a reward, but as a mirror. It reflects your readiness, your openness, and your silent, unwavering belief that you finally belong in a life of overflowing good. And in that moment, you'll know. You were never broken, only buried. Prosperity is not a goal. It is a field of vibrational coherence. To chase prosperity as if it were a finish line is to misunderstand its very nature. Prosperity is not a goal to be attained, but a state of coherence to be remembered. It is not something you arrive at after enough effort. It is something you return to once you dissolve the dissonance between who you truly are and who you've been conditioned to be. What appears as a lack of money is often just a reflection of a deeper lack of inner harmony. The external world responds not to our intentions, but to the congruence between our mind, our emotions, and the energy we transmit. Dr. Joe Dispenza often speaks of the necessity for coherence between the brain and the heart. The brain sends the signal of intent, but it is the heart that generates the electromagnetic field that draws reality toward us. When the two are aligned, when thought and emotion move in unison, we create a powerful resonance in the quantum field. However, when they are at odds, we emit static. The signal becomes unclear. We may think prosperity, affirm prosperity, even visualize prosperity, yet emotionally vibrate fear, doubt, and inadequacy. This incoherence confuses the field. It reflects not our conscious desires, but our deeper embodied truths. The problem is not that people do not know what they want. It is that they cannot feel what they want, as if it were already real. They try to manifest from a place of mental effort rather than emotional embodiment. They sit in meditation, visualizing success, but in their chest, they feel contraction. In their stomach, they feel dread. They hope that the image is strong enough to override the emotion, but the field doesn't respond to pictures. It responds to frequency. This disconnection is subtle, yet profound. It's the reason why so many people, despite doing everything right, remain stuck in loops of almosts and maybes. The universe, in its intelligence, does not withhold. It simply mirrors. And when we vibrate incoherence, we receive mixed results, not because we are being punished, but because we are being invited back into alignment. So what does vibrational coherence look like in real life? It looks like authenticity. It looks like someone who no longer says what they think they should want, but instead moves from what they genuinely feel. It looks like a person who stops asking, "How do I attract more?" and begins asking, what am I resisting within myself? Coherence is a quiet, grounded confidence, not in the outcome, but in the self. It's the resonance of someone who is no longer trying to get something, but is simply being someone. This shift from doing to being is where true manifestation begins. Not through force or repetition, but through emotional congruence. When the thought of abundance feels expansive in your body, not foreign or tense, then you know you're aligned. When the desire for wealth no longer arises from fear, but from joy and creative expression, then you know you're ready. Prosperity isn't the cause of your peace, it's the effect of your internal harmony. And yet, most people are still seeking peace through prosperity, instead of prosperity through peace. They believe that once the bills are paid, the job is secured and the debt is cleared, then they'll finally feel safe. But coherence cannot be built on conditions. It must arise first, within. Otherwise, even when money arrives, the old fear remains, and with it, the vibrational frequency of loss. To rewire this dynamic, one must begin practicing coherence in the absence of evidence. It means feeling abundant before the money shows up. It means trusting your worth when the world hasn't yet reflected it back. This is not delusion, it's spiritual maturity. It is the discipline of holding a vibration long enough for the outer world to catch up. There is a grace that enters when we stop begging the universe and begin embodying our own readiness. Coherence becomes a field, a kind of energetic language that life responds to without needing words. You walk into a room, and people sense something different. Opportunities seem to find you, not because you're chasing them, but because you've become the version of yourself who naturally receives them. This is the essence of becoming the vibration of what you seek. Not performing it, not pretending it, but embodying it so fully that you forget the desire ever existed. Desire dissolves when coherence is present because you are no longer lacking. You are aligned, and alignment is magnetic. Think of coherence like tuning a musical instrument. If the strings are too tight or too loose, the sound is off. But once the instrument is tuned, it harmonizes with everything around it. In the same way, when your inner world is attuned, your thoughts, your emotions, your energy, life begins to echo back that harmony. You no longer need to force outcomes. You simply allow them to emerge from your field of being. There is a peace that comes from knowing you don't have to chase what's already aligned with your essence. The more you attune to this truth, the less you need to strive. You move from effort to elegance, from control to connection, and from wanting to receiving. So let prosperity no longer be something you chase at the cost of your peace. Let it be a byproduct of your inner coherence, a natural unfolding of your alignment with who you already are beneath the noise. Because the truth is, you were never meant to earn abundance. You were meant to remember it. Your financial frequency is encoded in emotional repetition. There are stories we stop telling, but never stop living. These are not the ones we speak out loud, but the ones our nervous system repeats in silence. When it comes to prosperity, the most powerful story is the one hidden beneath awareness. The emotional narrative etched into our body through years of repetition, reaction, and survival. Most people do not earn according to their skills or their desires. They receive according to their emotional memory. This is not a metaphor. It is biology. The human brain is designed to conserve energy by automating emotional responses. When a certain feeling has been repeated enough, shame around asking for help, guilt after receiving too much, anxiety in moments of success, it becomes the default pattern. Over time, this pattern crystallizes into identity. You no longer just feel scarcity. You become someone who unconsciously expects it. And life, always mirroring, complies. The cycle is subtle. You apply for a new opportunity but hesitate to follow up. You receive unexpected income but spend it faster than it arrived. You dream of abundance, but find comfort in just getting by. These behaviors are not conscious sabotage. They are the mind's attempt to preserve emotional safety. If you've only ever known the stress of lack, then stability feels unfamiliar, and what is unfamiliar often feels unsafe. Our bodies are wired not for joy, but for familiarity. This is the root of energetic repetition. Unless interrupted, you will keep recreating financial conditions that match your inner emotional set point. No matter how many books you read or vision boards you create, if your emotional body expects loss, it will find a way to create it, not out of malice, but out of habit. The tragedy is that most people blame themselves for this. They internalize the belief that they are undisciplined, unworthy, or cursed. But in truth, they are loyal to emotional programs that once served them but now imprison them. These programs often began as protective mechanisms. A child who witnessed instability may have learned to dim their desires. A teenager shamed for wanting more may have developed a pattern of minimizing their needs. These early strategies become adult realities, playing out as invisible contracts. If I don't ask, I won't be rejected. If I don't want, I won't be disappointed. Over time, these emotional patterns encode a frequency. It's not what you say or think that generates your financial field. It's what you repeatedly feel, especially when no one is watching. That's where your frequency lives, in your reactions, your hesitations, your rituals of withholding or overgiving. This frequency becomes your signal, and the universe, listening with perfect neutrality, simply responds. To change this frequency, you must first see it. Awareness is the first rupture in the loop. Begin by witnessing your emotional reflexes around money. How do you respond to receiving? Does praise make you retreat? Does increase trigger discomfort? Do you associate wealth with freedom or with danger? These questions are not philosophical. They are diagnostic tools for decoding the emotional script you've been rehearsing for years. And once you see it, you do not shame it. You study it gently. You track its origins. Perhaps you realize that your discomfort with money isn't yours, but inherited, passed down through generations who equated wealth with loss, betrayal, or exposure. Perhaps you uncover a memory, a teacher's mocking comment, a parent's anxious glance, a community's unspoken rules that etched the first lines of your scarcity story. With each revelation, the grip loosens, not because the story is erased, but because it is finally understood. True transformation begins when you stop trying to override these patterns with force and instead rewrite them with compassion. This is not a call to fake confidence or pretend worthiness. It is a slow, steady reconditioning of your emotional core. You learn to sit with expansion without bracing for collapse. You practice receiving without apology. You build new rituals, daily acts of coherence that teach your body a different truth, that it is safe to have, to hold, to grow. One such ritual is emotional dialogue with money, not as numbers but as a presence. Sit with the idea of money as an energetic partner. What would it say to you? What have you been saying to it silently for years? Have you been chasing it, resenting it, fearing it, or welcoming it, trusting it, respecting it? The way you relate to money in your inner world defines how it shows up in your outer world, and until that relationship becomes clean, honest, and unburdened by shame, no financial strategy will ever be enough. It is not the mind alone that transforms a life, but the heart rewired through presence. Your financial frequency does not shift through information, it shifts through repetition. You must embody the new feeling long enough for it to replace the old one. This means choosing trust when fear feels familiar, choosing stillness when urgency screams, choosing expansion again and again until it no longer feels like a choice but a way of being. Imagine that you are a musician and your life is your instrument. If you play the same note every day, fear, shame, contraction, that note becomes your signature sound. But you are allowed to learn a new scale. You are allowed to play wealth, joy, and permission. It may sound strange at first, even discordant, but with practice your hands remember. And one day the song of abundance flows through you so naturally that you forget it was ever a struggle. There is no need to fight the old pattern. You only need to stop rehearsing it. Each new emotional choice is a rehearsal for the future you. And that future is not waiting in some distant timeline. It is coded in this moment, in this breath, in the story you now choose to tell. The code to reprogram. Your financial reality begins with self-identity. What you allow yourself to receive is never disconnected from who you believe yourself to be. The idea that your financial condition is purely circumstantial, dependent on external opportunity, education, or timing, overlooks the deeper truth. Reality is filtered through the self, not the self you present to the world, but the self that exists in your inner dialogue, your emotional posture, and your subconscious beliefs. This identity is not fixed, but deeply habitual, and within that habit lives either your limitation or your liberation. There is a silent architecture behind your choices, and it begins with the question your nervous system answers every day without your conscious awareness. Who am I in relationship to abundance? Most people carry an identity that says, I'm someone who has to fight for everything, or I'm someone who never gets ahead, or I'm just surviving. These statements are not just thoughts. They are embodied truths, encrypted into posture, tone, expectation, and energy. As long as that identity remains intact, the external world will continue to organize itself around it. You cannot outrun the self you have not redefined. This is why techniques that focus only on surface-level change, more hours worked, better strategy, even new affirmations, rarely create lasting transformation. Because beneath every action is a filter, the story of who you think you are. And that story shapes what feels possible, what feels safe, and what feels sustainable. Reprogramming your reality begins not with wanting more, but with becoming more. It is not a process of acquiring, but of remembering, returning to the self that existed before you were taught to shrink, to wait, to apologize. That self does not chase money. It emits value. It does not seek validation through external symbols. It radiates coherence from within. And this shift, from scarcity identity to sovereign presence, is not mystical, but practical. It is a neuro-emotional rewiring that happens choice by choice, breath by breath. One of the most powerful mechanisms for this transformation is narrative reconstruction. Begin by identifying the dominant story that runs your financial life. Is it one of lack, fear, resentment, or helplessness? Trace its roots. When did you first feel this way? Who modeled this for you? What did you witness growing up that etched this story into your bones? Not to blame, but to bring light. Because the moment a narrative is seen, it begins to loosen. Now comes the essential part, building a new internal identity, not through fantasy, but through frequency. Speak to yourself, not in future tense, but in present embodiment. I am someone who receives with grace. I am someone whose value is recognized. I am someone whose presence creates space for abundance. Let these not be affirmations, but recalibrations. Feel how they land. Observe where they are resisted. That resistance is the exact place where the old identity is still clinging to relevance. This work is not about pretending to be someone you are not. It is about reclaiming the version of you that your old beliefs buried. And in doing so, you begin to align your actions with your essence. You stop hustling to prove your worth and start expressing from the overflow of your alignment. You choose work that honors your nervous system. You spend money from a place of trust, not fear. You create boundaries that preserve your vibrational clarity. All of this becomes natural, not because you've mastered strategy, but because you've remembered who you are. There is a principle in both neuroscience and spirituality. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Every time you feel a new emotion and pair it with a new thought, you begin to build a new identity pathway. It takes repetition, not of words, but of experiences. This is why rituals matter. A daily practice of sitting in stillness, feeling abundance without conditions, walking as if you are already provided for, saying no to opportunities that do not reflect your value. Each of these is a vote for your new identity. Do not rush this process. The self you are becoming is sacred. It is not built in a day. It is summoned through devotion, through your willingness to show up for the life you have while holding the frequency of the life you are calling in. The bridge is not out there. It is you. Every time you honor your new identity, even when the old reality hasn't yet changed, you strengthen your signal, and eventually, the world adjusts. Because the world is never leading you, it is following you. Think of identity like soil. If you plant abundance in soil that believes it is barren, it will reject the seed. But if the soil believes it is fertile, life will bloom without coercion. Your inner identity must become that soil, not hopeful, certain, not needy, anchored, not begging, believing. In this space, wealth loses its charge. It is no longer a measure of your worth, but a natural response to your coherence. You stop needing it to define you, and because of that, it finds you. This is not a spiritual bypass. It is spiritual embodiment, a remembering of the truth that has always been waiting underneath the noise. You are not here to prove your value. You are here to express it, and expression is magnetic. Your frequency was never broken. It was only disconnected. As you've walked through this journey, uncovering the hidden blocks, dissolving the noise of misaligned beliefs, and realigning with the frequency of true abundance, you may have realized something profound. The universe was never withholding anything from you. It was responding to your resonance, to your readiness, to your remembered truth. You were never here to chase prosperity. You were born to embody it. To let your energy become so anchored in worthiness, in coherence, in inner peace, that life no longer needs to test you. It simply mirrors you. What if your reality doesn't need to be fixed, but felt more deeply? What if abundance is not a prize earned through struggle, but a frequency remembered through presence? Prosperity begins the moment you stop waiting to deserve it and start becoming the version of yourself who is already living it, through your boundaries, your choices, your language, your silence. Neville Goddard once said, "You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are." And who you are is not your income, your past, or your circumstances. Who you are is the space where infinite potential waits to be activated. You are the portal. You are the code. So let your future be born not from fear, but from embodiment. Let every thought be an offering. Let every moment be a calibration. Let every breath be a quiet declaration that you remember. Abundance is your nature, not your reward. You are not far from your breakthrough. You are one alignment away. And the universe is already listening. Now ask yourself, what frequency are you living in right now, and is it aligned with the life you claim to desire? If this message moved something in you, if you felt seen, challenged, or deeply understood, I invite you to stay with us on this journey. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss the wisdom your soul has been silently asking for. This isn't just a space for information, it's a sanctuary for remembrance. And most importantly, don't stop here. There's more waiting for you. Watch the next video on your screen now. It will take everything you just learned and guide you even deeper into the practical embodiment of prosperity and manifestation. Because once you begin to walk in your true vibration, the universe stops echoing your pain and starts reflecting your power.